What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 sleepers for this week's Wells Fargo Championship. These are golfers that I think are worth a second look, that are further down the betting board or further down the player pool on DraftKings, maybe providing a bit of value to your lineups. Now, I certainly don't know if all of these are good for an outright bet, but maybe top 10, top 20, depending on what you're feeling. But give them a second look. Let me know what you think. Tweet me. It's at RickRunGood, and there's going to be plenty more content this week, but hopefully we can find a couple of these values that unlock the rest of the optimal lineup or unlock some of those winning tickets come Sunday evening. So without further ado, this week's sleepers. Let me trigger some people and start with Emiliano Grillo, who is 66-1 to win the Wells Fargo Championship. And let's be real, it was an ugly missed cut last week at the Valspar. He almost went full Keegan. He shot a 66 on Thursday. He was 2 shots off the lead, and then he missed the cut because he shot a 76 on Friday, slamming his trunk and heading home early. But you look at what Quail Hollow requires, and it requires you to be really stout off the tee. And I have to admit, even myself, I did not realize how good Emiliano Grillo is off the tee. In fact, I did this on the DFS preview this week, and I started sorting by a bunch of different round numbers. You know, the last 50 rounds, the last 30 rounds, whatever it is. So last 35 rounds, Bryson DeChambeau leads this field in strokes gained off the tee, and it's Grillo who is second. If you go in any kind of range that you want, last 20 rounds, last 30, last 40, his name is going to be near the top. And now we get a situation where there are a lot of jaded owners out there. I certainly prefer Grillo for a DFS lineup, considering he's $8,100 over an outright bet, considering he has not been a prolific winner on the PGA Tour. But this is certainly someone who could unlock a low ownership, high upside type play that we all kind of really liked last week, and he's been playing well. And it's a really ugly miscut that's going to get a lot of the press, and I don't think we should use that one Friday round to make decisions about this week. Next up, Keegan Bradley, 70-1. That's right, we're going right back to the well here. This is something where I think perception and reality do not line up when a guy has a very spotlight failure on a Sunday. And Keegan, finishing runner-up to Sam Burns, included a couple of really poor short missed putts. He dumps his tee shot in the water there on the par 3, 13th or 14th, whatever number that is. And it's kind of like a failure. And most people are going to treat it as such, but I will not. His round last week, or his event last week, was the blueprint. I talk often about the blueprint, gaining 12.8 strokes from tee to green and being a slightly, not even one stroke on the positive side with the putter is exactly the blueprint for success and for eventual victory for Keegan Bradley. And this is not just one event anymore. It's not just 2 events anymore. This is a sustained stretch where Keegan has putted probably the best he ever has, or at least in the last 5 or 6 years, at least by the metrics. You go back further than that, who knows? But he has now gained strokes putting in 4 of his last 5. That does not include the Zurich Classic, where him and Brendan Steele finished 4th at that event. He is just playing well, and I take last week's result as a positive. And if he continues to do that on a weekly basis, he is going to contend constantly. This is the blueprint we've been begging Keegan to lay out for the last couple of years, and he's starting to do it, and he's going to reap the benefits of that. Next up is Matt Wallace. He's 85-1. I'm a believer in this guy. I'm a buyer of Matt Wallace stock at the moment. He is rather inconsistent, but if he was consistently great, like we've seen him flash at times, if he was consistently great every single week, you wouldn't be able to get him at 85-1. He'd be like 25-1 because he'd be contending on a regular basis. But from tee to green, he's been excellent, gaining in each of his last 3 stroke play events. You add in the team event, the Zurich Classic, where he makes the cut there with his partner, who was Graham McDowell that week. And you look at some of his stroke play results. 3rd place at the Valero Texas Open, 34th at the Masters, 18th at the RBC. That is a pretty eclectic group of courses. It shows me that he can contend at a lot of different places, or at least find success at these places. And we've seen magic from Wallace for 1 or 2 rounds at a time. He's trying to put all 4 together, and 85-1 to me is much too long for a guy who is just kind of this real flat, like high upside contender guy who's never going to give up, never going to grind. He's got to fix the putter a little bit. If he can roll the rock for a round or 2 this week at Quail Hollow, I think he can contend. But this is much too long, and someone that I'm going to be keeping an eye on not only this week, but in subsequent weeks, because I really like the way that his game is trending. Matt Jones is next. He is 100-1. He is already a winner this year. He won at the Honda Classic, and I think that's important for a couple of reasons. It shows his upside, shows the winning upside, but I think a lot of people kind of gloss over guys like Matt Jones because they assume, oh, those good metrics, it's because of that one good week. And that might be true for some other guys. It might be true for Robert Streb. It might be true for Martin Laird, where this one really outlier week is why their stats might look good at times, but that's not the case for Matt Jones. Since the start of 2021, he is gaining in all 4 major strokes gained categories. He has gained strokes from tee to green in all but 3 starts, and he's never lost more than 1.1 strokes tee to green in any event. The putter has been phenomenal. The ball striking has been great. This is just more than one start. It's more than the Honda Classic. It's the 26th at the Masters. It's the 8th at Genesis. It's the 11th at the Sony Open, the 21st at the American Express. He has missed 1 individual stroke play cut this year, the API. He also missed the cut at the Zurich, but that's the Zurich. It's a weird event. It's a team event. He has missed 1 cut this year. The stats are great, and I think a lot of people are just overlooking him. Really, really high upside. Great player. I mean, he's a great player. I think I can say that, a great player at this point of 2021. He's gaining 1.2 strokes per round over his last 37 rounds. How does that compare to everybody else in this field? It's right behind Bryson DeChambeau in 2021. That's how good Matt Jones has been. He's been better than Max Homa, Patrick Reed, Keegan Bradley, Abraham Ancer, Sung J M, Tony Finau, Russell Henley, names that I think we treat with a different class of golfer, and that is where Matt Jones is right now. I got to be honest, I didn't really have a 5th sleeper here. You know, I was looking through and I didn't want to force it. And then I thought this might be an opportunity to talk about Phil Mickelson again, and he's 200-1. You guys know this. I'm not a big Phil Mickelson fan. I mean, I think he's great. I think he's a great guy, whatever it is. I respect what he's done in the game, but I don't normally bet him and I don't normally roster him because the metrics often look pretty bad. Not right now. Phil Mickelson, even though he missed the cut at the Valspar last week, it was an 8-foot putt for par on 18 on Friday that he missed to miss the cut. Bogeyed 2 of his last 3 holes. Played a lot better than that. Had a stretch where he birdied 3 or 4 holes in a row, and again gained strokes off the approach. On approach. Excuse me. We are now in a 5-tournament stretch where he has gained strokes on approach. We have a 5-tournament stretch, the same 5, that he has gained off the tee. It is coming together. He has talked about the lack of focus, unable to focus, for 4 or 5 hours at a time over every single shot. That's the missing puzzle piece. If he can just figure it out, get a little bit of that short game magic back, Phil is going to contend, and nobody has more top 10s at this event than Phil Mickelson does. He has 10 of them in his 16 career starts. Rory McIlroy is next, 7, so it's quite a gap there. There's really something brewing here. I would be surprised, and it would almost be mathematically improbable if Phil Mickelson kept keeping up these ball striking numbers and wasn't contending. I don't know if that's going to be this week necessarily. It might be a good spot for it, but if he continues on this trend line, I think you're going to see a lot more top tens and a lot more great finishes for Phil Mickelson. So that's what I'm kind of buying into, because this is a really good stat sheet for Phil at the moment. All right, there you go. My top 5 sleepers for this week's Wells Fargo Championship. I hope that opens your eyes to a couple of guys that you might not have considered, and maybe now you can give a second look to. Let me know who I missed. Tweet me at RickRunGood or leave a comment below. Best of luck this week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.